Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. A television host blocked me on Twitter today because she is a Ripple-hating, XRP-hating, Bitcoin maximalist who was, by the way, spreading fake news about XRP today. And she done got called out for it, and I'm going to talk about it more in this video to call her out even more on it. It's a bunch of nonsense, and I'll tell you who it is coming up here very shortly. Also, on the issue of fake news, the New York Times is now using blockchain technology to filter out what they are deeming to be fake news. I'll wrap the video up with that. But to start, I also want to share with you a little bit of information just to set the table for what happened with this TV host. I want to share a little bit of information about Ripple's second quarter report, which came out yesterday. Now, I did my full analysis video on it yesterday. It was a video that was about a half hour long, not going to be revisiting the content that I provided yesterday, but I kind of need to set the table so that you know, make sure everybody's on the same page, knows some of the pertinent things that were discussed within that report, and then I'll explain what happened. All right, so here's a piece from CoinDesk titled, Ripple sells $251 million in XRP in quarter two amid spike in institutional buying here. And there's a part that I wanted to read from here specifically because it was intellectually honest, and I was proud to see this from CoinDesk because they like to spread a lot of fun about Ripple and XRP. And part of what they wrote was, according to the report, the second quarter report, Ripple's global trading volumes dropped by 28% quarter over quarter, from 595 million to 429.5 million, though that's the result of better accounting rather than failed business strategy. Amazing! Oh my god! They reported the truth. Can you believe it? Hell has frozen over. Oh, happy day, happy day. I did not expect to see that from them, frankly. But yeah, that's absolutely true, and it's actually, so it's the most XRP in terms of dollars that they've ever sold in any given quarter, and that's fantastic. But they've talked a lot about reporting mechanisms and how that needs to change. They were looking at I forget what the new entity was. I'd have to go back and look because I just learned about them yesterday. But there's a new entity that they're going through. Oh, it's Crypto Compare. Actually, I see it on the screen here. It's Crypto Compare, and they were previously using CoinMarketCap, and CoinMarketCap had the transactional volume at something like 3 or 4 times what was actually occurring according to Crypto Compare. So that definitely skews numbers. So that was kind of fascinating, so I thought I'd share that with you. But anyway, just be aware that Ripple was gifted XRP. I need to set the table here for what I'm going to share with you in just a moment. Ripple was gifted their XRP from the creators of XRP, and that's how they came to own it. And they sell it when they want to sell it. Now, the good news is when they sell it, the proceeds that they get from that, they're actually using to benefit the XRP ecosystem at large, which is fantastic. That's one of the reasons that I freaking love what Ripple's doing. They're the best leader within the world of XRP that you could have possibly hoped for. That's my opinion anyway. And so check this out. This is from XRP Crypto Wolf. Here are some of the numbers. I just want to run this real quick, show you the pictures, and then I'm going to get into the part about the TV host deciding to block me on Twitter. So here we go. From XRP Crypto Wolf, Ripple cumulatively sold 1.14 billion of XRP, out of which 36% was sold to exchanges and 64% was sold to institutions. Ripple sold 251.5 million in XRP in the second quarter, which is the highest quarterly sum that Ripple has ever sold. Quarter 4 will be XRP's time to boom. We shall see about that. But that isn't that fascinating? So I've kind of explained in recent videos my stance that as it comes to institutional buyers, I think that they're going to behave differently than retail speculators. I think that they're going to require, if they're going to invest in cryptocurrency, I think that they're going to require that there be some sort of rationality that a particular coin is going to have staying power. You know, when the bull run of 2017, you could have bought any cryptocurrency, and no matter what you bought, it was going to increase in value by 12 times. That's pretty much what happened, especially towards the end of 2017. You couldn't pick a loser. Well, I think that institutions are going to treat their money a little bit differently. And that's one of the reasons I think XRP is going to be one of the winners for the long term. It's because there's real utility, there's real adoption taking place here. But is it not heartwarming to see that institutions, in fact, and it's evidence here, unless you think Ripple's lying, 64% of the XRP sold was to institutions. And these are going to be pickier buyers than retail speculators. I love seeing that. And Ripple sold a ton of XRP, and they're going to be reducing that for next quarter, because they believe, based on, especially on new data and the way that volumes are being reported and all that good stuff, which I covered in the last video, they're not going to need to let as much XRP enter the space. They've kind of, with the new data, changed their opinion on the quantity that needs to come out. They think that there's sufficient liquidity for the moment anyway, in order for institutional purchases to come out and make the purchases by and large. Now, for orders that can't be filled, the way that I read what it was in the report yesterday is they're going to they're going to sell if there's large orders that can't be filled. Yeah, of course they're still going to sell. But so that's why it's not that Ripple is no longer selling over-the-counter XRP. It's that they're reducing it. That's what it is. Okay, so check this out. I got blocked by Stacey Herbert. She is a TV host on the Kaiser Report. She is Max Kaiser's wife. Sorry about that. I'm not thinking clearly here. That's what happens when my brain's trying to multitask when I'm talking about too much stuff in one video, and I'm trying to think about things simultaneously here. But there are two threads I'm going to show you here, and I'm going to explain exactly what happened. And this is just typical Bitcoin maximalism. And she put out what I would call is fake news, which is one of the reasons later I'm going to close out the video by covering that piece from CoinDesk. That's what inspired me to cover it, because it's New York Times is going to be, as I mentioned earlier, using blockchain to combat fake news. And so I thought, oh, well, he just put up fake news and just tying it together like that anyway. But anyway, there's two threads here. And so I was actually following Stacey Herbert because I do not hate people that like Bitcoin. I don't think they're the devil. I don't think that they're bad. I'd like to be an adult. I'd like them to be adults. And if we disagree on certain things about cryptocurrency, to me, that's all hunky-dory. I don't have a problem with it. But a lot of the Bitcoin maximalists do. And so let me show you what she tweeted out. And if you look on the screen that I have right now, actually, let me show you first. You may see at the top, this tweet is unavailable. That's because this page was refreshed after she blocked me. The next page I'm going to show you right now, I have not refreshed it. If I were to press F5 to refresh my page, this tweet would no longer be here because she has, in fact, blocked me. So here's what she tweeted out, which is complete garbage. And it was a retweet of a CoinDesk piece, which is the one about 251 million in sales from Ripple of XRP. Okay, so Stacey Herbert retweeted this and then here's what she wrote in it, and it's complete nonsense, complete garbage. She writes, "I personally don't get why anyone bought $251 million worth of digits Ripple printed this quarter, but it's not as if the investors, in quotation marks, don't know they are basically financing some amazing lifestyles for a few dudes. It's like a GoFundMe campaign, but with some greater fools." Okay, so I'm going to read this thread first, because this is the one that I had intended to read first anyway, and it's on that exact topic. So she believes, apparently, that you can just, the Ripple's literally still just creating XRP. Don't mind you, like, they didn't even create XRP in the first place. They were gifted XRP. That's what I stated earlier, and it is the absolute truth. You can go ahead and verify that yourself. But she seems to think, and she's in the world of crypto, mind. She's talking about crypto and Bitcoin all the time, and she thinks that Ripple, the company, is just printing up XRP. Freaking crazy. And so Matt Hamilton, he chimed in, and he wrote, "Printed?" with a question mark. "You know how cryptocurrencies work, right?" And again, that was to the original tweet I just cited from Stacey Herbert, which you can't see on this particular screen at the moment because I'm blocked. And then somebody named Prentice Stone responded, "No, everyone doesn't understand digital currencies. Like Henry Ford said, if I asked people what they thought was best and what they wanted, they would have said they wanted a faster horse instead of an automobile." That seems... I remember reading that earlier, and I was just like, that's completely irrelevant, but whatever. It's part of the conversation, so I'm sharing it with you. Matt Hamilton responded. By the way, he's a wealth of knowledge. He knows all sorts of cool XRP stuff from the tech side, but he responded, "True. But then, if you work on a show dealing specifically with cryptocurrencies, as she does, you'd kind of expect them to know some of the basics, especially about one of the top cryptocurrencies, which is XRP. Do you think they'd get away with saying Bitmain just prints more Bitcoin each month?" And then he writes, "Of course, the irony being that Bitcoin miners are much closer in concept to printing new money than a company involved in XRP selling their existing asset." That's a very good point. I probably agree on that. And then somebody named AJ responded, "You're actually chastising Stacey Herbert, who's had skin in the game since Bitcoin was $1. and before Ripple even existed. And then there's a couple laughy emojis because I guess AJ thinks that's really funny what he just wrote there. I don't know. Did I miss the punchline? I don't get it. Anyway, so it writes, get your head sorted. And printing is an apt term for releasing into circulation thousands of millions of tokens created at Ripple's inception. Yeah, no, it's not. It's not a way to state that it was released into circulation. That's a way to state that it was fabricated out of thin air. That's garbage. Anyway, Matt Hamilton responded though. Yes, I am chastising them as if they have been in crypto this long. Then they should understand how some of the basics work. As you say, Ripple is selling their own holdings, not printing more, as she claims. Thank you, Matt Hamilton. I'm on your side there. And then somebody named Sven C, which is kind of fun to say, Sven C, writes, not if her focus is on Bitcoin, only since then, but doesn't change the fact that you should only talk about things you know, especially if you have an audience listening, but that's common nowadays. And then here's what I wrote, and this is what got me blocked. I responded, she has some awfully strong opinions about XRP, considering she has a notable lack of knowledge on the subject then. It's either that or she's saying stuff she knows to not be true. Whichever case is reality, it's bad. And that's a fair point, is it not? Either she's ignorant quite literally, and I don't mean that in a pejorative, I mean it as in she literally doesn't know, or she's saying stuff that she knows to not be true. It is one or the other, right? And then Matt Hamilton responded to me. He wrote, right, I wouldn't say sea lions only mate on a Tuesday. Like, this is hilarious. As I have no idea about sea lion reproductive habits. I don't see why people in crypto come out with such strong statements without doing any research first. And so I responded to that because I do have a thought on that, and I want to share it with you. And this pretty well sums up my stance on this and what I've seen, having been in the world of crypto for 1 year and 8 months. So I wrote, I believe tribalism is the reason, and this is human nature. This behavior is not relegated to the world of crypto. You can find it almost anywhere. I think adults should recognize their own tendency towards this undesirable behavior and seek to act differently. Most never will. But I recognize that. I think it's fair. Look, if you're a human with a set of ears and you're listening to this, you've been guilty of this. I admit that I've been guilty of this. You have opinions for whatever it is on whatever topic, and you want it to be true, and you defend something, even if there's a good argument against you, and you know it, you just defend it. We've all done that, right? That's okay. That's part of being human. But I think it's best to just recognize, okay, humans do have that tendency to behave that way. Let's just knock it off. So I quit doing it. And if I ever catch myself doing it again, I'm going to recognize it hopefully shortly thereafter and knock it off because it's counterproductive and it's stupid. And when people catch you doing it, you look like a moron. So don't behave like this. Just like, don't do it. This is not rocket science here. Like, be a grown-up. So anyway, there was that, and then there's a separate thread, and so here it goes. So this is again from the same original tweet from Stacy Herbert about the $251 million worth of XRP just being printed by Ripple, and somebody named Construction Rates Daily B, which I think that's supposed to be a Bitcoin. I can't tell. Anyway, they wrote, "Yep, Ripple created its own tip bot XRP #RippleCoin. LOL. Fools and their monies that aren't monies." They just don't know it yet. Clueless as bar stools. And then Stacy Herbert responded to this. And luckily, I can still see this again since I haven't refreshed my screen. And she wrote in response to that, "It's not as if the obvious isn't there for all to see. If people want to donate to the team, then go for it. That's their choice. If they're feeling so charitable, however, it seems there are better places to send $250 million a quarter." So she obviously doesn't get the whole XRP ecosystem and that. She doesn't see that. She doesn't care, even if she knows that what Ripple has gotten by selling their XRP is actually being put directly and immediately back into the XRP ecosystem. She doesn't know that. Probably wouldn't matter anyway. She's just a human with a bias and whatever. That's just who she is. But Matt Hamilton responded, and he wrote, "This is such a good point. Indeed, it is pretty obvious that the person you are replying to is lying. It's not as if the obvious isn't there for all to see. The XRP tip bot was created by a third-party developer and nothing to do with Ripple." And so Stacy clearly didn't know that, nor did the person that wrote that. So Matt wrote that the person's lying. Actually, it could have just been lying. It could have been a lack of knowledge also. It's one or the other. Either way, I'm kind of parsing words to agree I didn't intend to. It doesn't matter. It's one or the other still. And so I responded to Matt Hamilton, and wrote, "My experience has been that, generally speaking, Bitcoin maxis have no idea that there are numerous developers building on top of the XRP ledger. They are always in stunned disbelief when I tell them that. Echo chambers are a real thing, my friend." Absolutely. So, and you know what's funny in all of this? So I was just in this thread. I didn't write anything to Stacy, and she still decided to block me. And I was following her because, like, I'm open-minded. I'm like, hey, I think you're wrong, and I do think she's wrong. She's wrong. Like, her entire worldview as it pertains to, like, governments and banks and this and that, I completely disagree. But I was still happy to see stuff from her. And so I've never tweeted specifically to her. I understand technically she's in the thread. Okay, fine. But it wasn't something directly to her in a direct response to something that she tweeted out. And so that was something. Now, I'm not the only one that got blocked. As it turns out afterward, other people were sharing their war stories when this is all done. And Matt Hamilton, he took a screen capture showing that he had been blocked by Stacey Herbert. There was one other person. I can't remember who it was. I may not have even cited them in this particular video. But anyway, yeah, there were multiple people that just got blocked. So this is one closed-minded individual who is really being a cheerleader for legacy cryptocurrency technology, which is Bitcoin. And there we are. That's it. She just thinks that the first technology of its kind is the very best, and that's all you need. And let's keep trying to build on top. Even though Lightning Network doesn't work, even though it requires pre-funded accounts similar to like the cryptocurrency equivalent of Nostra Vostra accounts, which we're trying to eliminate. That's what Ripple's trying to do. And so never mind all that. You got a centralized solution through your pre-funding on the Lightning Network. But hey, whatever. It was nailed in the first time. Don't worry that XRP can scale to 1,500 transactions a second. Don't worry that no matter. It's only fractions of a penny per transaction. And don't forget, what about the energy consumption? It takes almost no energy relative to Bitcoin. But don't worry about the superior technology. You're not going to acknowledge that even, are you? You think that Bitcoin's superior in every way. Even though it's so funny to me when it talk about Bitcoin maximalists, is Bitcoin could absolutely be used as a bridge currency the same way that Ripple's using XRP as a bridge currency for cross-border payments. Why? So why isn't Bitcoin being used as a bridge currency? Because it doesn't work very well for that purpose, does it? Because it's too costly and it's too slow. It's absolutely that. But the truth of the matter is Bitcoin's decentralized, XRP is decentralized, you can use it for either. And so she's an enemy of XRP, the digital asset, and the XRP ledger. And because there is a developer that is using it to help banks, but you could use that, you might as well hate Bitcoin too then, because Bitcoin could be used for the same purpose if a developer chose to use it for that purpose. It's decentralized, nobody could stop anyone from attempting that. It's just slow, and so people wouldn't, like, Ripple doesn't want to do it. Who would want to do that? Bitcoin doesn't freaking work, man. It doesn't work. Like, it just doesn't work. Nothing against it from an ideological perspective. I'm just stating the fact that it's very slow and costly to transact with it. No, thank you. So Stacey Herbert is completely ridiculous. You know what? Oh man. Well, she's such a phony, baloney, plastic banana, good time, rock and roller, nonsense, reading, spouting out person. I don't know. I think that's enough about her. I'm just gonna go on because she really steams mad bitch to this. You know? Actually, I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed. But I want to share this with you too. I didn't tell you this at the outset. This is gonna be real quick though. Here's the latest from Galgatron on remittance sizes. These are charts that I share every time they're available when I come across them. And it has to do with the reason he's tracking this in part is to figure out when there's actual utility of XRP in terms of it's actually being used by XRapid partners, and you should be able to tell that based on remittance sizes and how stable or how frequent the transactions are, the price ranges are, despite volatility on the XRP ledger. And so he tweeted out, no real changes to the new norm, awaiting latest XRapid partnerships to show some additional energy here. And so if you go down, here's the other one I always like to share with you. Here's the latest wallet, or account activations, it's wallet, whatever. And you can see that we're quickly approaching 1.8 million accounts activated in the history of the ledger. That's astonishing. So despite what price does in the short term, I always like to show this one because it's like, this one's not going backwards. The accounts are always increasing, and they're still increasing at a pretty consistent rate. You can see that right here. So I always like to report on this when the information is available. All right, next piece. We'd Say Win tweets this out. He tweeted his retweet, actually, which is what I came across anyway. And he wrote, as you may have noticed, Twitter decided to block the XRP tip bot from sending direct messages, so I updated the tip bot to send tip and deposit notifications straight to your smartphone. And he writes, if you don't have the app installed, then gives a link there, which I think is awesome. So I don't know why Twitter blocked that, because I do remember, like, anytime, and you may have noticed too, if you've ever gotten a tip from somebody, you would get a direct message notifying of you, which is nice, because it makes it easier to make sure that you thank the person, because you probably want to be like a civil adult and do that. And the thing that kind of sucks is, it's getting to the point, like with me, not that I have some crazy amount of followers. I think on Twitter I have like a little over 1,300. But I got to admit, if there's a bunch of activity going on Twitter and I get tagged in something, it's easy to miss something. So if somebody tips me, I'm always afraid that I'm not going to notice and then not recognize them, and then they might think that I'm just kind of like being a D-bag when I'm not, because I'm always appreciative because somebody does that. When somebody actually gives me a tip, but it's easier because I'd always get fewer messages than I would notifications, if that makes sense, And so now that I'm not getting notifications, letting me know, I was kind of like, eh. So I'm just going to have to make sure. I don't know if there's any sort of setup, but I wanted to make you all aware in case you were unaware that this happened also. You may want to change it if you want to make sure that you always thank people if they send you a tip in XRP. You might want to make sure that it is getting set to your smartphone. I haven't looked into it any further, but I'm going to check it out. So I don't know if there's any additional setup, or if you just already have your phone on file with Twitter, if it just somehow does it. But I would guess you'd have to set it up somehow, but this is all I know at the moment, but wanted to let you know. All right, now, this piece here. And this piece is being covered in honor of Stacy Herbert. Thank you so much for blacking me. And it's from CoinDesk, titled, New York Times confirms it's using blockchain to combat fake news. The New York Times company has revealed new details relating to its ongoing blockchain publishing experiments, first revealed by CoinDesk in March. Published Tuesday, a new website for the publisher's News Provenance project explains how the storied newspaper's research and development team plans to use Hyperledger Fabric's permissioned blockchain to authenticate news photographs in partnership with IBM Garage, the tech giant's accelerator program. The project aims to combat misinformation and adulterated media, which it argues harms small and large publishers alike. And then it writes, news consumers who are deceived and confused eventually become fatigued and apathetic to news, the website says. The New York Times and partner companies will run a proof of concept from July until late 2019 to find a way to maintain trust in digital files. The project aims to store a news item's contextual metadata on a blockchain, including when and where a photo or video was shot, who took it, and information regarding how it was edited and published. The idea is to create a set of signals that can travel with published media anywhere that material is displayed, the website says, including on social media, in group chats, and in search results. My question, New York Times, can you make this technology work with Ripple fudsters and XRP fudsters, people that spread fake news about Ripple and XRP? Because if you can, good old Moon Lambo's on board with you. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Lambo!